so extremely proud and excited to have a very special human being on with us today to have a conversation about all things art, Onemob dreaming, and just a discussion really about our journey, about this very wonderful man's journey. And I met this wonderful man, and has been an incredible ally and friend and mentor and uncle in my own work and walk, I suppose you could say. Don't let it go to your head, uncle. And so it's just such a privilege to have him on today to chat and shoot the breeze and yarn up, as we would say. And thank you for coming on, Uncle Allan Phillips. Yano.
Guringai, sister, Guringai. Wow, after all of that, it's a wonder my hat's not just gone.
Yeah. My earpod.
Yeah.
I wish to also, before we start, pay respects to the country that I'm on, which is Dorrigo. It's wonderful to be in Penrith in this area, an area that obviously this area and also over in Richmond and places like that. Wilberforce, my ancestors who were 5th Fleet, first boat people, I suppose you could say, convicts, coming on the Lady Penrhyn and Scarborough and many others. So my ancestry has been in this area for a very, very long time, and it's part of why Allan and I have connected in our joint visions and our joint heart for being the difference that could be made in healing the ancestral pain and suffering that's happened, and in any way that we can. And as a kinesiologist, our job is to join the dots backwards, and my journey has been to join the dots backwards, and one massive dot is Uncle Allan. So just so that I'm correct, so Uncle Allan is a father, a grandfather, a brother, a son. He's Worimii, Guringai, Gumbaynggirr, Irish. And you're living it. Where exactly are you?
And I call myself Onemob. Yeah. You did pretty good with those names.
Thank you.
And I'll just introduce myself, if that's all right, my sister.
Of course.
The way I've been taught. Hello, you mob. My name's Uncle Allan Phillips. I'm a Guringai, Worimii, Gumbaynggirr, Irish fella. And I say it like that because that is the all of me as I know it today. Probably goes a lot further back, and might be able to bring that into the conversation later on down through our yarn up today. I'm currently living, and I've returned to live on Gumbaynggirr country, a beautiful jewel in the crown of the Bellingen Shire Valley called Dorrigo. Absolutely beautiful place. And I also, every day, I pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. And the work that I've been shown and taught to do is from my elders, through my elders, and hopefully pass it on to the emerging elders, so they can carry it forwards. But yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And so Uncle Allan is many things. You're actually a prolific and
depends on who you talk to.
Yes.
Yeah, it depends on
you are a prolific artist. In my opinion, I think your art, all art is beautiful and has something for all people, but there's something about your art that's extremely powerful. It's very unique. Yet dives deeply into culture, deeply into yourself and into the energy of what's happening around us, and almost a little bit prophetic. But the energy of it is what impacts me most. Some of you, Matt, you can't see right now, but I'm going to move this up. You can see right at the top there, that blue cross painting was a painting that I received with great honour from Uncle Allan, and I deeply encourage you to seek out his work, have a chat with him, have a yarn with him about his work, purchase his work, as it is extraordinary. It's not just art, it's actually a tool of healing, in my humble opinion. But he's also the creator and birther, and I guess fire holder of something that's truly beautiful, and that is Onemob dreaming, the foundation Onemob dreaming. Can you tell me a little bit about what Onemob dreaming is?
Onemob dreaming, actually, would I be able to start back to what brought it all about, if that's okay?
I love that.
Yeah, because it's best off to start the story at the beginning.
Okay, let's do that.
Backwards and forwards. My knees aren't too good for dancing nowadays.
No shaking leg, no.
We'll just sit in the chair and start from the beginning. And in some ways, it's almost like once upon a time or in the beginning, because I suppose it comes back from birth. I was born into a family where there was both love and anguish and abuse. My father, Aboriginal man, had issues with alcohol, like many people did in those days, and I only seen something on the ABC or SBS the other night about barbiturates. It was about Prozac, actually, and how it's been supplied for so long, and they didn't understand about didn't divulge about the withdrawals. Well, back in those days, alcoholics were prescribed Valium and what have you to help them come off the alcohol. But when you use alcohol and those prescribed drugs such as Valium, a really strange beast gets created. The most loving person can become the most violent person. And even though there was love in my house, and I knew my father loved myself, my brother, and my mum, there was also a lot of violence. And but that was the beginning of I suppose we all have our own hardships and challenges in life, and I can only speak to mine. And it's through learning of my ups and downs that I got to a point where in my early 40s, I suffered post-traumatic stress disorder. And that was the very first time that I couldn't put the pieces back together again and rebuild. I was completely shattered and just left with nothing but darkness. And I was very, very lucky that it coincided with, I started painting 12 months before. So when this happened, my painting or creating art became the vehicle that helped me to be able to express what was going on inside of me, what was being gifted to me by the ancestors, the old people, as I call And yeah, just what was swirling around inside of me, but in a safe environment through my art. And also too, at the same time, two beautiful elders came into my life. It's some people would call it magic, but as my elders said, it was always meant to be, because this was what was written, to happen. And so through my art and my elders and learning and doing the hokey pokey of life, you put one foot in, you put one foot out, you turn around and you shake it all about. It was just all over the place. But it was a dance that I had to dance to get to the point where I am today. And that was nearly 20 years ago now. But with my art, you were saying about, Sis, how it was healing. I've had quite a few people say that. I've had elders come into I had a gallery in Dorrigo in 2015, which is completely left field for anything I do. I've never done it before, never had the experience, but the old people told me I had to leave where I was living at that time down in Bega, and that I was going home to Dorrigo. I was shown a vision of the store, and when I got up there 3 months later, the usual way it works, there was no parks in the main street. The one park I parked in, went across the road to get a coffee, was looking around going, I wonder where this store is. And I looked to where my car was parked, and it was parked right out the front of this store, and it had been empty for 18 months. So, of course, it was all meant to be. 12 months later, it was closed down when I finished a series of 11 paintings, and continued to go over to Canada and the US every year until COVID hit. So a lot of this story will probably be jumping around from one to the other, from one place to one set in time to the other. But the thing is, it's all connected and it's all part of that journey. But I've had my elders who were training me up and learning me up with what my role here, as they said it, on earth at this point in time, was about healing, and healing myself, creating healing paintings, because every time I get a canvas in front of me and I create something, I don't just go, oh, I'm going to do this today. I'm actually shown and told what to create. And every time I try to take a little bit of human control over it, I slowly get a bit of a touch up the back of the head with the way it's meant to go, and as I'm putting the dots on or creating it in whatever way that I apply the paint, I enter into a space and a place within me that I'm connected above and below all at the same time through the art, and I just create. And one of my elders said to me once, he says, that artwork up there that you're creating? And I said, yeah. He says, that's not just your healing, that's other people's healing. He says, you're painting other people's stories. And when they come in, they'll see that and they go, I'd like to buy that. How much? And when I had the gallery, there were a lot of paintings that went out for far below the proper price, because that was the part of the artwork is it's not so much about the money, but it's more focused on doing something for somebody to help them heal, and as I know, there's not one human being on this earth that doesn't need to heal in some way, and healing can take your whole lifetime. Yeah, and as we heal each other, and we also help heal country, and especially in this current circumstances that humanity is facing, and in so many ways has created. There's country needs healing too, because country can survive without us. We can't survive without country.
That's right.
So, yeah, but the healing and my uncles. I couldn't say that I went willingly along, because like most things in life, I get dragged kicking and screaming until I realised, it's actually good for me. And at 60 or nearly 61, that little boy inside of me still has to get dragged kicking and screaming to do a lot of things, but I'm getting better at it. So and that's all part of understanding my journey. And as I was being trained up and taught and gifted so much knowledge by these two elders, and also too an elder in British Columbia, Chief Mike Leach, which is another story within the ongoing story, who became a dear brother, who is a dear brother and mentor. But I was gifted a dreaming story called Onemob Dreaming. And this story relates to humanity, relates to our mother, and it goes way, 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 way back, right to the very first forming of the planet we now call Earth. So it goes a long, long, long way back. And the senior elder, who I called father, because we had such a relationship where I was like a son to him and he was like a father to me. And he's no longer with us. So it's out of that respect, I won't mention any names. And he said to me one day, he said, my boy, he says, I got something that I've been hanging on to for you until you were ready to receive it. And I said, oh, yeah, what's that, Father? He said, a dreaming story. And he shared with me the dreaming story. He said, this is your story. This is what you're about. This is what you will do. This is what you're here for. And he shared the story with me. And I looked at him and I said, why me? And he laughed and he said, why not you? And I said, well, straight up and honest, I said to him, well, I've been the biggest stuff up that I know in this, and, I've hurt people that I love. I've hurt people that I didn't even know. I was carrying around this torment inside me, all of this pain and trauma and projecting it out onto other people. But, because back in those days, we weren't given the skills, you were told to just man up, suck it up, keep going forwards, and that wasn't working, and so my PTSD was actually a blessing and a curse, and I'm finding it more of a blessing now than what I did in the beginning, because it just shattered everything. So I had to rebuild. And, and when I said those things to him, he says, well, that's why you're the right person for it. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, well, you've learned from all of those things and you're learning more, aren't you? And I said, yeah, I am, Uncle. And he goes, well, he said, you didn't learn that from books. You learned that from being there, participating in it, and learning from it and feeling it and understanding it and still making mistakes until you actually realized, oh, right, okay, now I get it, and he says, that's why you're the right person for the job. He said, because you could be walking along the street and see somebody sitting in their own puddle of misery, and you could go up to them and say, hey, how you doing? Do you mind if I sit in your puddle of misery with you? And I could sit down there with him and listen and understand in such a way, is because I've been there. I know how it feels. I know the guilt, the suppression, the lack of self-worth, the self-loathing. But also too, I also understood and understand that there's also this sense of love and a sense of purpose that just doesn't let go, and that sense of, no matter how hard it gets, that we can rise above it in such a way. And the more we work at it, again, the hokey pokey, one step forwards, one step back, that I can help people, not help, but assist people if they want to, through sharing my own story as well, that, nothing's set in stone. At any time, we can actually find that person inside of us and be that person inside of us we were born to be, before life circumstances and that changed so much for so many of us. So he said, that's why you're the right person for the job. And I went, okay. And it was a pretty steep learning curve, because unbeknownst to me, both those uncles were to depart this world not long after each other. The last uncle left this world in 2019, and miss them dearly, but they're always poking me and slapping me up at the back of the head when I'm not listening, even now. And it was really, really, really amazing, just the whole journey. Like, there's not enough time in our podcast today to share the whole of the journey, because it's so long, and it's like an amazing tapestry. There's just so many threads that all come together, and you don't really see the picture until more threads are interwoven. And but they trained me up to create something that, unbeknownst to me in my artwork, because in the early days of my artwork, I was just signing my name, finishing one, putting it in a room. I had about 40, 50 paintings in one room that was just done one after the other, one after the other, one after the other, to help me with my healing in the early dark days. And then all of a sudden there was a shift. I was starting to sign them one mob, one mob, one mob. And then it progressed to one mob dreaming. Because as I was painting, my yarning up to the ancestors who were talking to me, and they were in my artwork. They were saying, put these colours in. This is one mob. Put this colour in. This is one mob, one mob, one mob. And they started sharing with me what one mob is about, and then what one mob dreaming is about. And then I think it was 10, 12 years later, I was given or gifted the one mob dreaming story. So all through those early days, I didn't understand what one mob dreaming was about, but I was being trained up then even about one mob dreaming. And
so that like just started to happen before you even knew that the dreaming even existed. It was just something that you started to do.
Yeah, something I started to feel. I started to understand. Part of me was looking at and being shown that, it don't matter whether you're black fella, white fella, red fella, or a yellow fella, the 4 tribes of Earth, that we're all human. We're all related. Just, the same as you look out at, some beautiful bushland that we have here in Australia, you don't just see one type of tree or one type of animal or one type of rock. There's this beautiful diversity, and that's how I see country is showing us, just like that's what the human race is this beautiful collection of diversity, but together we create that oneness, that, like in our bushland, together it creates that oneness, and no one part is more important than any of the other parts, because it's when the trees and everything else come together and stand there as one, that's that beautiful, beautiful country that Australia has and many other parts of the world, and it's the same when humanity comes together in a good way. So many beautiful things can be created and shared and instilled in people, and have people remember and relearn that, it's a whole heap of individual journeys on a shared journey. It's I didn't even think I'd be having an art gallery. I thought I was just going to, go through life, painting. I was happy. I had no aspirations of, with my artwork. My artwork was just pure healing. I gave away hundreds of them. Before I was told, well, why don't you start selling them? Oh, yeah, okay, $50 here, $100 there, da-da-da-da, and now, nearly 20 years later, I did a mural for the hospital up here at Dorrigo. It was 32 metres long by 1,400 millimetres high at its highest. And again, put out of my comfort zone, and it was the very first outdoor mural I'd done, and paid reasonably well for it. So again, it's that you just never know when you start your journey where it can take you. And like with, as I was saying, my artwork is a vehicle of being able to and a platform that I can stand upon and share my teachings that were gifted to me and what I've learned from my experiences, both the traumatic and the good, with other people. You know, I ended up having a art gallery. You know, like I said before, never knew how to run one. I just knew the old people told me I was to do this, so I was to do it. And with the help of some amazing brothers and sisters who guided me along the way and helped set up the renovation of the shop, out it came. In the middle of the street, flags flying, a whole heap of splash of colour into the main street, which was a bit of a culture shock for a lot of people. But soon afterwards, it became a meeting place out the front where I had a bench seat, and I would sit out there and people would come along and sit down, and we'd have a yarn. We'd talk about the price of cattle, or we'd talk about politics. There was no boundaries that we wouldn't talk about, because it was whatever that person wanted to talk about. And when it was time for me to close, everybody said, "Oh, are you coming back? You're coming back?" And I said, "Yeah, the old people said I'd be back, in 3 years or so. So yeah, it'd be great to have another art gallery." And I said, "Oh, who knows?" I said, "That chapter's done." And 3.5 years later, I'd moved back to Dorrigo, but this time with a foundation just starting. So I've gone from being completely smashed to my artwork, to a gallery, to going overseas, and then returning back with a foundation. The startings of a foundation. But this doesn't mean to say that, everything was going rosy. No, God no. There were so much heartache, pain, and trauma still happening. And sorry about that. I was just thinking back to it. Right. So much pain and trauma was still going on within me and around me, and moving through something, I suppose, is, or as people say, healing from something, is not an end game type situation. One of my elders, one of my founding elders of who I am, he always used to say, "My boy, every single one of us carry a backpack full of rocks. And those rocks are our trauma, our hurt, our pain." And he says, "But the trick is, you'll never get rid of those rocks." He says, "But what you do is you turn those rocks into feathers. He says, because, no matter how much healing you do, they'll always be there with you in some shape or form, even if it's just a little nudge one day or something triggers you, but as I've been taught, and as I try to put into my own life and my own journey, is that each time that happens, it's a gift to see that there's a little bit more we can heal, but also an amazing acknowledgement of how much that person has come through with their healing. So it's that beautiful balance. And that's what I've been shown, especially the last few years, is that it's not so much about the light. It's not so much about the dark. It's about walking with both feet, with a foot in each one, and still be able to walk forwards, because we can't get rid of the dark, just like we can't get rid of the night. And we can't get rid of the light, just like the sun comes up every day. So it's a matter of creating your own way of where you can walk in balance with all things. So it's been how would you say, an interesting journey. And along that journey, I got to meet you, my sister, out at Uluru.
You did. We were attending a conference and connected immediately. Not that I knew, even at that stage, how deep the rabbit hole would drop around the synchronicity of that connection that I'm deeply grateful for every day, because I know as my journey heated up and became more intense and convoluted in some ways, it was just so powerful to have someone who saw life the way that you do, or see life the way that you do. And something just before I connect to the next sort of topic is to say, so for people so they're probably grasping an idea of what one mob is, and it's the whole concept of white fella, black fella, red fella, yellow fella dreaming. And it's that dreaming of the returning to unity, of coming back together, of embracing one another and the diversity and how unique and beautiful we all are, but at the same time celebrating our uniqueness and all those kind of things. But particularly on this land, we're still in the midst of moving through the past, moving through the healing of, I guess, the history of this place in Australia. But it's common I don't think it's uncommon in lots of countries. There's lots of places where this issue is still a thing, of, I guess you could say, disunity or disconnect. And so, in your own words, like, what is the energy and the heart of one mob as a purpose? Like, what is one mob dreaming here to, because I feel like I'm not even sure that one mob dreaming is a dreaming that is embraced by the mob necessarily. It's a dreaming that's almost beyond its time. Like it's outside the box. It's something that people are still trying to even get their heads around and grasp, to the point where you may even feel like it's a very lonely journey of having people to embrace what it means.
Well, one mob dreaming is the beginning, the road we walk on towards the future. To me, what is it? The Alpha and the Omega? Is the
beginning and the end?
The beginning and the end. Yeah, that's it. but what it is more importantly is everything in between. Now, in setting up the foundation, because Onemob Dreaming Foundation was set up as the obvious next step of moving forwards with this. And I knew I was completely out of my depth in forming a foundation, because, you know, I'm not real good with Westminster business ways of doing things. But so I asked for the support and the skills of some sisters who'd come into my journey, and a shared journey, and with their skills, we created the Onemob Dreaming Foundation. Now, I had already got a constitutional lawyer to set up our constitution. It was so funny. Of course, when he asked how going for charitable status, I went, yeah, cool, that'd be good. He goes, okay, here's the list of 13 charitable subtypes you can do. Go away and think about it and come back, and, you know, we'll work those into the constitution. And I went, right, okay, and get that all sorted for the charity mob, the Australian government charities people. Anyway, I came back a couple of weeks later, and he goes, oh, yep, what one did you pick? And I said, I picked 11. And he just looked at me, his jaw dropped and his eyes popped out. And he said, 11. I said, yeah. I said, the other 2 didn't fit. Otherwise, I would have gone 13. And he goes, you can't have 11. And I said, why not? He said, because it's not done. I said, but that's exactly what Onemob Dreaming is about. Just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean to say it can't be done. You know, and he looked at me and he goes, oh, can you just cross off some and bring the number down? And I went, oh, okay. And I went 7. And he threw his hands in the air and went, okay, we're going to go for 7. Now, some of the sisters who helped me with the application for charitable status said, no way known this is going to happen. You know, it's unheard of. You know, I said, that's why it's going to happen. I said, because the people have shown me and told me how things have got to go. I said, I already made a compromise from 11 to 7. I said, we're going for 7. Anyway, we put in the application and got one phone call from the lady who was going to do it. We talked for 40 minutes and she said, okay, I'll get back to you soon. 2 days later, she rang up and said that our application was successful. Ding, ding, ding. 7 charitable subtypes. Done as I've been told. Okay. You know, so I suppose is what Onemob Dreaming is about is, and for me, this has been formulating, I suppose, on reflection most of my life through my journeys of being a very traumatized human being to where, you know, I would act out in many ways, but at the same time also so loving at the same time. So there was that conflict, you know, which people don't understand unless you're actually that person. And but the whole time I was being trained up for Onemob the whole way. And now with the foundation and setting that up, it was like, okay, on the seat of our pants, no real money and only volunteers. You know, we got to working on the governance side of things and this, that, and the other. And when this amazing group of people first came together, I shared with them, I said, now, what we are all going to co-create together, I said, it's going to bring out and shine light on some dark places within each one of us. No matter how much you think you've done the work, there's going to be some light shone on the dark sides of our humanness. And sadly, I don't know if that was not listened to or it was fobbed off. And that wasn't me just saying that. That was what I was instructed to say by the old people. And it came about to the point where working with these people could no longer happen with the way things were going, and that they chose to leave. Because it was getting to the point where, which sounds like just normal Westminster worldwide business structure, you know, the person who has been gifted the dreaming or the idea or that seed that they want to share with other people, you know, gets taken over through factional blocks within the governance of things, and then the next minute the whole thing's changed and has been deviated away through the way it's done, you know, the way it's all been set up to be done, and what has been started can turn into something that it was never meant to be. So sadly, I said, no, this is the way it needs to be because this is the way it's been shown to me. Yes, they're just like a river. A river doesn't always flow straight. Sometimes it bends and turns. Yes, that's already been factored into it. But I will give my dues to those sisters and that board at the time and our secretary. They did amazing work, all volunteer, set up some really good structure to move forwards from. And that was the end of their time and being a part of Onemob Dreaming. And one pearl that came out of it from one of the sisters was a term called human friendly. And I suppose, in a way, that's what Onemob Dreaming's about. It's about being human friendly, you know, culturally based, as in, you know, working on those cultural foundations and pillars of integrity, honesty, love, respect, you know, just to name four, you know, and being able to come together in a good and proper way and discuss things and share visions and see how those visions can interlock to where, you know, humans can start becoming a bit more friendly towards each other, but more importantly, self, because that's the one thing that I was given a vision, and it hasn't happened in quite a long time, because maybe I might be not needing it, but this one was where I was sitting at a sacred fire And on one side of me was the Creator, and the other side was our Mother Earth. And I'm crying, just uncontrollably crying. And the Creator said, "Son, what is wrong with you? You know, why are you so upset?" And I looked at the Creator and I said, "Father, you know," I said, "I'm just so upset with what my brothers and sisters have done to the mother." And I looked at and myself, and I looked at the mother and I said, Mother, I'm so sorry for what I and my brothers and sisters have done to you. Please, crying, you know, can you tell us, share with me what it is that we can do to help you heal? How can we help you heal, Mother? And she's just looking at me, and just this beautiful smile on her face. And I could feel this wave of loving energy that only as a mother or a grandmother could give you, you know. And the Creator said, "Son, what the mother and I would like for our children is that you heal yourselves, because the mother has been healing herself for many years, even before you were born, before the human family was born. She was healing herself, and she continues to heal herself. What we would like is for our children to heal each other, you know." And from that, I started to realize that true healing starts here. And, you know, from yourself, it flows out, you know. And I suppose Onemob dreaming is also about healing, but not telling people how to heal, but facilitating, providing a space, listening, assisting, you know, because no one person has the answer. But I reckon together, you know, well, that's part of our logo, together we will. And that's the only way, you know. And it's not disempowering anybody. It's saying that every single person has the power to bring about change. Every person has the power to heal, you know. And it's through that healing that maybe we can leave a better world for, you know, the ancestors to come, you know, our children's children's children, you know, because, you know, I'd like to see some clean water, fresh air, clean oceans, healthy food, healthy country for them to live on and thrive upon, you know. But it's what we do here today, what we do in ourselves, where it starts. So, but yeah, and the foundation at the moment has gone back into a formative stage. And I'm on the lookout for any, you know, heart-centered people who have some business skills to come on board. People who are just even just curious to find out how they can help. Need a few board members, you know, things like that, you know. So people will be definitely coming back in or coming on to a stage where maybe one day they'll be able to look back and go, yeah, I was part of forming that, you know, and helping this come about. yeah, so Onemob Dreaming Foundation .outlook or at outlook.com. I think that's the I'm not real good with that, but anyway, I'll give it to you later anyway, sis, you know. So but yeah, yeah, it's not so much that I have the answer, it's we have the answer. I'm just the person who was, as my elders said, I was born to do this job. I'll tell you a funny story about that. When Father also said that, you know, when I asked the why me, he goes further after that conversation, he goes, you know, you signed the contract with the Creator for this even before you were a spark in your mummy's belly. And I said, what? I signed a contract? And he went, yeah. And I went silent, and he could see that I was thinking. And he says, what are you thinking about? Because he knows, you know, even in that time I was 50. I'm still pretty cheeky. The little boy and cheeky little boy inside still lives on. And he goes, what were you thinking? And I go, I was just thinking about the next time I sign a contract with that fella, I'm going to make sure I've got some of those angelic QCs and solicitors and lawyers. And he burst out laughing. And he goes, they won't help you. And I said, hey, I'll look for any loophole I can next contract. And he laughed. He said, when you sign with the Creator, there are no loopholes. I said, yeah, I know, but it's just something to think about next time, you know. And he laughed. Yeah, you know, like I've just been given this to do by the Creator, but also too on this earthly plane by my elders. And people have said to me, why do you struggle and put yourself through so much pain with this when you could just walk away from it? I said, even in death, I couldn't walk away from this. I said, you know, it's out of the deep love and respect that I have for my elders who gave me this work to do. But it's also something deep inside of me. It tells me that no matter what happens, no matter what you face, you just keep going and keep going. And that's what happens. You know, there's moments where, quite open and honestly, before I go to bed, I ask not to wake up with this. You know, it's the weight of it all and the stress of it all is so great that I just say, well, look, old people, if you should so choose that I don't wake up in the morning, well, that's fine by me, you know. And in the morning I wake up and they go, you ready to come back to work? I go, okay, you know. And even if it's one phone call or one positive thought that I can find in amongst it all, that keeps the fire burning. You know, that keeps it possible, you know. Because and that's something that I got from my PTSD in the darkness, was that the smallest spark or the smallest flicker of flame can light up the most largest room. It can light up the whole universe. You know, it doesn't have to be a huge flame, even just the smallest flame. You know, and I suppose with my PTSD, not suppose, I know, I found more more learning in the darkness than I did in the light. And people say, how could you find learning in the dark that will serve you in a good way? And I said, because you can't find light in the light, but you can find light in the darkness. So I was always taught to stay away from the dark, but for me, a dark is part of our existence. It's that healthy opposite of the light. We need both. But anyway, that's for another podcast.
Yeah, it's I tell you, there's so much to talk about, and I think we may have to, with your permission, Allan, we may have to look at a series, because we are barely scratching the proverbial surface as to your journey, personal journey, Onemob, what the plans are, like the future dreaming, that's the possibilities around Onemob, the initiatives that you're hoping that it can, around initiatives. I'm assuming, and you can correct me, but things like just conversation, creating opportunities for connection, opportunities for gathering, for education, for no matter what tribe of the 4 tribes that you're from, just creating these opportunities for us to come together in conversation. And I think it's in that sitting down together and learning from one another, and understanding one another, where we're coming from, where the more we can start to heal these disconnects between us all. And I'm assuming that that's part of what's being interwoven into the possibilities. But I think it's an incredible stand for something that, maybe in our time or ancestors' time, well, close ancestors' time, hasn't happened. We've had a lot of chaos between the 4 tribes in the world for a little while now. And there's been many prophecies all over the world around this time of the coming together. Almost a slightly different way of looking at it. It could be like the rainbow tribes, the coming together of the rainbow tribes, all people from all nations coming together as one, and healing that part of ourselves that seems to but even the journey, we could have a whole podcast on even the journey, the quite hilarious at times, fun, synchronicities. I'm sure the old people have sat back in their chairs, if they have them, laughing their heads off at our journey through what's become our, if you like that, our joint journey. For those of you who may be interested, chapter Mr. Phillips, Uncle Phillips,
12.
tells us. I'm just going to chapter 12. Now, Allan's interweaving through the whole thing, but chapter 12, he has his own chapter in that book, which is the book that I've written, part of the story that I've had about the calling that I felt on a deep level to begin whatever part I am to play in the healing of this land, this country, and the ancestors. My own personal ancestors, as I said, I'm 5th or 6th generation convict, and first, second fleets, and many others. And so, but also on my mother's side, that's more my father's side. I've got on my mother's side, I've got Swedish and a lot of Nordic bloodlines, but certainly for me, it's not like I woke up as a young person thinking, I know what I might do. I might dabble in trying to heal the pain and suffering in our country that's so deep and complex, and seriously like walking through a minefield all the time. And I don't think it matters what color skin you have. It's very complex, and so it's been a real journey for me. But I think my whole life. That's a whole other podcast that we could talk about, just the ins and outs of how we met, and then from there, the synchronicities that flowed into
Yeah.
a really fun story. And it's not fun. I mean, it wasn't fun at times because because you felt called to act in ways that might have felt crazy to some, but it was so deep and consistent, the calling to take certain actions, that it's not easy to follow that spiritual guidance at time and follow the heart. So, but yeah, it's been an absolutely extraordinary journey, and I've been blessed to meet with other uncles along the way, and aunties who have helped me to walk this journey of finding healing even within my own line, because even within our own ancestral lines, there's all that's happened here and all that they went through even to get here and be here. And so it's fascinating, to say the least, and I hope that we can come back together again very, very soon. I know Uncle's got an appointment at 10, so I want to make sure he's got plenty of time. So we'll finish up in a moment, but I just want to thank everyone for diving in. This is, almost like an introduction, really. Sometimes these conversations, like I was saying, they're so simplistic, but there's so many little threads in the tapestry that, like you say, it's almost difficult. It's so difficult to have people get it in one bit over an hour conversation. So I'm hoping we'll continue the conversation and flesh it out a little bit more next time. But anyone who would like to, obviously I'll share this, anyone who's interested in more about the Onemob Dreaming Foundation, about Uncle Allan's artworks, you can contact him either below. You'll be able to connect with him, because obviously I'll connect him into, whether if it's Facebook in particular, you'll be able to find him on Facebook at you're just Allan Phillips on Facebook, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So you can find him there. So please connect with him if you're looking at commissioning artworks. The artwork that Allan completed at Dorrigo Hospital, I'm hoping we can go through that maybe sometime, bit by bit, and it's extraordinary, truly extraordinary, and as people arrive to that place, they will just be imbued and blessed with so much healing through that artwork. It's incredible. You could be a hospital or someone who's interested in that kind of thing and think, wow, that would be amazing to add to the environment and the healing environment that can happen through art. Or, a personal commission, please. This is extraordinary work. So you can connect with Allan. But as you said, so it was, did you say it was Allan? No, Onemob at Outlook?
Yeah. Onemob Dreaming Foundation at outlook.com.
There you go. So I'll put that in the notes below as well.
Or onemobdreaming.com .com is my art website.
Okay, great. So you can connect up there. As I said, we'll chat again. We'll dive into this a bit more. We'll dive more into the future of Onemob. If you're someone who could be interested in being a part of the creative process and foundation of the foundation, a capstone. If you'd like to do that, like, all sorts of talents are required. So just reach out. I'm assuming that no matter what, don't think, oh, maybe that what I do is not it could be helpful. So reach out. Particularly if you've got experience within charities and foundations and stuff like that, that would be helpful.
And also, like social media and things like that.
Yeah.
And, hey, any help or assistance and guidance is always appreciated, and the invitation is open to all people, especially my Indigenous mobs, and my non-Indigenous mobs. Funny being a bridge, being black fella and white fella, but as I've been taught, it's not just those things, it's what's in your heart. It's not what you were, it's who you are now and where you're working towards. And in saying that, I'm not dismissing anything of for myself, for my past, I carry that with me every day. I remember that every day to help me be a better man today and into tomorrow, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well said. Because at the end of the day, it helps us to continue on the red road, to remember that was a bit painful, or oh yep, I might not flop back into that old habit or whatever it is. It helps us to continue on those memories of the past. But I guess it's the healing the memories of the past so that then they're no longer affecting the future. But maybe just communicating with us so that we continue to build a future that's certainly not as painful, that's for sure. But together we will. I love that statement. It's at the end of the day, it's going to take, you know, everything moving out into the hands of the people and it becoming something that's a new consciousness, that like Onemob is a consciousness, really, isn't it? It's just something that we will end up holding inside of ourselves. Or I think maybe that was, I didn't say that as well as I could. I think it's something that we unconsciously know but possibly have forgotten. I think maybe
it's in every single one of us, because we're all taught that way back into the beginning when we were one mob, because there was only one mob. And over the years we've spread out all over our mother, but that's another podcast. That's the
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on with us today, Uncle Allan. This is a first for us, and it was so great just to hear you speak and share. And I hope that it brings you many blessings and conversations and connections.
Well,
I look forward to our
who knows where this journey goes, you know. This is the third first with me, as I was saying before we started. First, it was the book. Then the second was in the video clip for your book.
Yes. Yeah.
And now a podcast. You know, so I thank you for shunting me along and providing these doorways of opportunities to doing things I never, ever thought I would do or have the intestinal fortitude to do. So thank you.
You're a film star. We haven't even scratched the surface of that. So next time I must play it for everybody to connect with that amazing work that we have to give kudos to the team and Timothy Boyle and his production crew. It was a lot of fun. So thank you, my uncle and brother. I appreciate you, and we shall reconnect very, very soon.
All right. And lots of love to everybody out there, and be kind to yourself, you know, because it's hard for everyone at the moment. So be kind to self. All right. Love you, sis. Yara yara.
Love you too. One mob.
One mob, exactly. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.